Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Untitled Hoops podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sean. Over there is your other host, Marquise. Uh, this is the top podcast where we talk about basketball, mainly the NBA, mainly the 76ers. I say that every time, but I feel like I definitely have to say that now as a bit of a refresher because we've been gone for like what feels like forever. Um,
Better part of
I
like
don't think we've,
2.5 months, maybe,
yeah, we,
and
we
that might be
haven't
selling
actually,
it short.
we haven't done a pod this season.
We have not.
Yeah. So this will be hopefully not too long because I know Marquise doesn't want to have to edit 6 hours of footage, but
Not at all.
this is going to be essentially a catch up for all of us on what's been happening in the season, in the organization, and around the league. Um, we can start off with the fact that James Harden has been traded.
Dude, this is
Uh,
so late. Jesus
I
Christ.
know
This is
it's so
so
late, but
bad. Okay.
But instead of focusing on the trade, I guess we can just focus on like the teams post trade, like how they've been doing.
Mm.
Ironically, the Sixers are fine. It reminds me a little bit of like when Ben requested his trade and he sat out for like the whole, I don't know, first what 3 months or whatever
He
of the
didn't get
season
traded. He didn't get traded to the
to the
deadline.
deadline, right?
Yeah.
And the Sixers were fine.
Perfectly fine.
It seems like if you have Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, you're fine. I mean, that's kind of all you need. But much like that season as well, it's looking like we're still maybe a piece away. Now, on the other hand, the Clippers,
I
much like
also
the
I also
Brooklyn
would
Nets,
I also would add in there. I don't think we're not a significant piece away. We're like
right,
a minor piece.
right.
Alex Caruso has to be Alex Caruso.
So, on the other hand, much like the Ben Simmons trade, it's looking like we won the trade, at least initially, because the Clippers have been struggling. They actually just won, I think, their first game post Harden trade like a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
They were like 0-6, I think, or
Against
0
against terrible teams, might I add. They beat
yeah,
the
and
the
not
Spurs.
against good teams.
Yeah, they haven't done anything.
So yeah, so as of right now, at least it's looking like we won the trade. So let's start off by shitting on the Clippers. What's wrong with the Clippers?
Everything. They wake up.
They wake
Nah,
up terrible.
no. It's clunky. I think Russ going to the bench is better for them. I thought it was going to happen. It just didn't happen as soon as I thought it was. I thought instantly once the trade happened, that would mean Russ would come off the bench. Um, and just like it's just very stagnant. Everybody wants the ball, but no, only one person can have it at a certain time. Harden's still trying to do Harden things. PG is trying to do PG things. Kawhi is standing in the fucking corner. The best player on the team is
Mm,
standing in the corner. I feel like you
yeah.
can't really win many games when that's the case. Um, and Zubac is like trash. His hands is terrible. He can't catch a ball to save his life. Mason Plumlee, who's their backup center, gets injured. They signed Daniel Tice, who's playing pretty okay, but just there's a lot of they're just okay. And when you make a trade like this, even though they didn't give up significant pieces, they give away. I mean, well, significant and what they it's crazy because like they give up pieces they didn't deem significant, but like they're missing players like the players that they gave away. And it looks very clunky, very clunky.
One of the things that's really interesting, first of all, I feel bad for Russ because I mean, first the Lakers situation happens. He sort of comes off the bench. He plays like he takes a back seat to LeBron and AD. I mean, Russ is one of those players who's like I feel like he just is undervalued as a whole, and I think people just I don't know. We've seen that when you give Russ the ball, good things happen. Like the Clippers were really good. Like they were doing great, especially last postseason. Like Russ kind of like saved their postseason.
Definitely.
So it's weird that you feel like you have to go through. all of this to go and get James when now like you had your big three and Russ actually played, I think, a pretty complementary style to Kawhi and PG where, Russ isn't going to sit there and pound the ball. You don't have your best player, like you said, sitting in the corner just waiting for something to happen. I think James, just like with the Sixers, could be a better fit potentially if he was to play more of the facilitator, true point guard role. But he's already said that he doesn't want to do that. So
He kind of
it
has no
just doesn't
choice.
make sense.
It,
Yeah,
it,
I mean,
he has no choice because one, you're on the last year of your deal. So is Kawhi. Kawhi and Paul George, I think, has player options. Um, Russ is the only person there next season for real. Like if the season ends today, he's the only one there because
yeah.
there's no way Kawhi is going to come back to this. There's no way Paul George is going to look at this any like way of like I can win here. And then on top of that, James Harden, you're not getting the contract that you think that you're going to get. And it's like it's time for him to realize that like your highlight plays, your highlight plays since being on the Clippers have been against the Spurs. Like your best moments has been against the bad teams. So it's like there has to be some type of like coming to like Jesus moment in his head in his camp and his agent because like he's not James Harden no more. And it's just for the Sixers actually it's good for the Sixers because we have cap space next year. And we send James Harden over there just basically explode the Clippers and then Kawhi comes to us.
I mean, it's a possibility. Or Paul George. I mean, even a guy like PG on the Sixers, you know, I think it'd be an amazing fit. I mean, number one, you gain some size having him at the three with you still have Tobias at the four if you want to, re-sign Tobias,
I
obviously
think
for
I
much
think he
less money.
I think he would be back.
Yeah. But you gain size. You have another guy who could play a very versatile role. He could be 3 and D in some situations. He could be the primary scorer in some situations. Like, you know, you don't necessarily have to run plays for him, but you most definitely can. I think somebody like PG or Kawhi would be an amazing fit for the Sixers. Obviously, it's very unlikely that they come here,
Yeah.
but still,
I mean, but like think about it.
max roster
We're
spot
we're
is a
the
max roster spot.
we're the only good team with money.
We are.
Only
We
good
are.
team with money. I mean, honestly, there is a world where they both go back to the Clippers and just James Harden doesn't return. And they use whatever money they have from James Harden not returning to fill out the roster, kind of like what the Phoenix Suns did. Um, and I just don't think that this whole thing was worth it. We got essentially 3 first-round picks for PJ Tucker and James Harden, who both are no longer what they once were. It's crazy because like I feel like even PJ's case, we got the last good year of PJ Tucker. Like I think he's done now. Like he's
I wouldn't even. Honestly, I would argue even. I might argue the Milwaukee Bucks got the last good year
I
of
mean
PJ Tucker,
shit.
or even the Heat maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, I think it always comes down. I hate to say it, but because the NBA is a business, a lot of times it does come down to money. I think PJ did have a fine year with us, but I think it, relative to what we paid him, could have been better.
PJ has been worse
Yeah.
since he's been in the
Um.
Clippers.
So let's transition back to the 76ers, who I think did what they should have done initially with the Ben Simmons trade,
Mm-hmm.
which was not try to trade for a superstar, get rotation guys who you can play and get draft
You
picks
know what
and
makes me
just let
mad?
Tyrese ball out.
What makes me so mad is that Tyrese Halliburton could have been on this team. Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield could have been on this team.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton is playing like prime John Stockton right now. He's scoring the ball and he's the not only is he passing the ball, but he just had 2 straight games where he had 15 assists with no turnovers. Like that could have been on there. We could have had 2 Tyrese's, Buddy Hilda, who's a
Yep.
laser, and all that with Joel is crazy. That would have made us. That would have put us over the hump. Like that right there would have put us up. Because even if one of them have off night, you got to guard them because they both shoot 40+% from the three. Buddy Hield shoots 40% from three. Tobias Harris would, is shooting 40%. D'Anthony Melton, you would still keep these pieces. Damn, you wouldn't probably have to give up Steph Curry. Steph Curry could have been a chance. Steph Curry's still here. Like Matisse could have been still here. Like that, all that would have just like cured a lot if we just wouldn't went that direction. But of course we didn't because Daryl Morey is in love with James Harden, and for some reason I feel like he still is, even though this has all happened.
Maybe it's guilt. I don't know. There's still, so let's talk about that for a second because we did get into it a little bit, I think, in whatever our last pod was, but the whole Daryl Morey James Harden situation, I think in all honesty, Daryl probably took the brunt of it, but I think it was more so on ownership.
Mm.
I think Daryl probably made a promise based on what his plan was, and then ownership might have like stepped in and said, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that."
Because why would you?
So then it looks like Daryl's going back on a promise. Which, by the way, I'm not necessarily mad at ownership for not wanting to give James Harden, a 5+ year deal
Max
or
money.
max money. Yeah, like I'm not mad at that. But if you tell a guy you're gonna do it, you should
But
probably do it if
so
you intend to keep him.
what was rumored? Mark Spears. I was listening to Ryan Windhorst podcast, the Hoop Collective, and they were basically mentioning was that Harden's camp basically got the impression that the Sixers were going to offer him a contract, but it was going to be probably another 1-1 or 2+1, where like 2 years max, or there if they were to make it like a 3 year. 3 years was like as far as they were willing to go, but also that 3 year would be upfront, and then as year to year it would decrease, and Harden wasn't didn't want that, and because he felt like one he gave up money to get PJ and Daniel House, and then he gave up money in Brooklyn by not signing because he wanted to get here, but also that's your fault. That's all your fault. Like it's literally all your fault. Like I feel bad for James Harden, the person, but the player. I mean obviously same person, but like he doesn't get in his head that like he's not that guy. He should have taken the money when he had it, and now that he doesn't, it's like he's like scrambling for anything. Oh, now it's I can't be here no more, or I look at everything I did and everything like that. It's like, bro, you yes, you took less money, but you didn't show up. And to make us want to, give you the money.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, like you said, if it was about the money, then you should have taken it when you had the chance.
Exactly.
If it
Exactly.
wasn't about the money, then what's the problem? You know what I mean? Because now you're squandering what you really should be wanting at this point in your career, which is opportunity, because you've had all the max contracts. Like you've made a lot of money. And it's not to say that you shouldn't want more,
And
but at the same time, at this point in your career, you're at a crossroads where you're not able to do both. You're not able to say, I want to be on a contender and I want max money. You're
what I
just
wanna
not at that stage anymore.
I wanna throw in what Russell Westbrook did. Russell Westbrook, for those who don't know, his contract, he signed 2 years, 8 million. 2 years, 8 million for opportunity, like you said, opportunity to compete. He didn't care about the money. I've made enough in my career to truly compete and to keep our team flexible, to be able to do other moves to help us further advance and to even be able to compete for a championship. Bro took less money. He's paying. He's a right now. He's averaging like 14, 7, and 6 or something like that. On getting paid $4 million a year. Like I don't know if Harden like can like look in the mirror that way. I just don't think Harden is there in his head to realize that he's no longer that guy.
I think, you know, uh, what's his name? Doc Rivers did an interview recently where he was talking about, Harden's attitude and coaching him and sort of trying to get him to commit to being that true point guard, facilitator type of player. And, Doc basically said, like, for the beginning of the year, everything was perfect. Like, we were in a flow, everything was working fine. But when it was basically decided that Harden wasn't making the All-Star team, even though he led the league, he was leading the league in assists, even though like
And I
all
want
that was
to
happening,
and
when
I
it
want
was
to add on
announced
to
that he
that.
wasn't making the All-Star team, Harden just like
I
completely
want to
changed.
add on to that. Adam Silver called him because he was going to be one of the replacements, and
Yeah,
Harden took he was taking his time to respond. Adam Silver then gave it to Pascal Siakam because Harden
yep,
took his time. It was like,
yep,
bro, listen, if they're going to give you the opportunity and you don't want to take it, that's on you. Once again, if you wanted it that bad, you should have took it when it was there, when it was
right.
presented. This is the second time.
It, it's a shame because you can tell he wants both. Like he wants both, and he wants it a certain way, and it's just like, bro, that's not how this
It's not
works.
going to happen, bro. You're just not.
It's just not how this works.
You're not.
And
You
even
try, bro. Like it's
and it's
like
like
it's weird.
you honestly were in a position to build a very special legacy as one of the few people who's ever led the league in scoring and led the league in assists. Even if it wasn't in the same year, like not many people have done both of those things in their career,
And it's like when that
even just once.
the the Mavericks announcer, one of their people. Did you see that when he went off on them?
On James Harden?
Yeah,
No.
you see it. Basically, he was like, James Harden, you wanted the best players, they gave it to you. You wanted the money, they gave it to you. You wanted the you played with the MVP. You played with Hall of Famers. He played with everybody. He was like, you're not the beard. He was like, you're not the system. You're the problem. He said this on live TV, and it was making his rounds. I'm surprised you didn't see it. And it was the truth. It was absolutely the truth. Everything you wanted in your career, they gave it to you. They gave it to you. That the style of play, they gave you Mike D'Antoni. You didn't want Kevin McHale no more. You didn't like the way he was playing you. They gave you Mike D'Antoni. Oh, you didn't like Dwight Howard no more. Okay, we're gonna give you Chris Paul. Oh, you don't like Chris Paul no more. All right, let's go get Westbrook. And then it's like, bro, what else do you want us to do? What else do you want to do? Like, what else you want to do? He's come to the Sixers. Oh, you don't like Doc no more? Okay, we get rid of Doc. Like, it's like, come on, bro. Like, everybody's not going to keep changing their ways for you. For
Yeah.
you to keep turning your back and throwing hissy fits when things don't go your way. Like, it's literally, it's simple. You're not a superstar no more. You're not.
So I want to touch on something because this is another thing that's sort of been making its rounds around social media. Recently, a clip of an interview that Rachel Nichols did with Kobe Bryant and Tracy McGrady has like sort of resurfaced.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back when Harden was in Houston. And, you know, basically Harden was obviously killing it, like scoring the ball. And Kobe, who's one of the greatest scorers of all time, was asked, like, what do you think about Harden? Like, what, he's doing amazing things. And Kobe basically said, like, yeah, but you can't win that way.
You called it Harden
And
ball. Harden ball. Harden ball
yeah,
doesn't work that way.
it, yeah, he said it don't work like long term. It doesn't work in the playoffs. It doesn't work in the finals. Like that might be cool for the regular season, but when the game slows down, when defenses are able to key in on you, when you have time to prepare, like that style of play just doesn't work. It's too focused on one player. There's not enough ball movement. There's not enough player movement, and it's going to essentially become very easy to defend.
Mm.
And it feels like we've seen this time and time again, where exactly what he said happens. And the only time that Harden has even come close to the finals, obviously aside from being in OKC, where he was coming off the bench, by the
Mm.
way, and he was a sixth man. But the only time that Harden's come close to the finals was when they had Chris Paul, and Chris Paul was the point guard,
Mm.
and Harden was just the scorer. He was the one-on-one guy. But Chris gets injured. That obviously basically kills all their momentum. Harden goes back to being the ball centric, lead guard or whatever, and they fall. It's kind of frustrating because I feel like last year should have been all the proof that you needed that if you just change your style of play, you can be dominant still. You may not be the leading scorer, but you can still be dominant. But I think the problem is he's just so accustomed to being the guy who puts the ball in the basket that even leading the league in assists felt like nothing to him, which is like, bro, if you can't be happy with that and possibly get a ring, I don't know what you're here for. It
And
has to be the money. It has to be the money.
it has to be money. It's like also, bro, like understand in a place where like you want to make as much money as possible. Like I understand that.
Yeah.
Understand that to you want to be wealthy for the kids that you're not even gonna get to meet. Like understand that
But I mean,
generational wealth.
does Harden even have kids? Like
I I don't even know. No, he doesn't. But it's like still like
at this point, it's like, what's who's this money for?
it's for him and
The
the strippers.
strippers?
It's for the
Yeah.
strippers, bro. He loves the strippers, bro. Leave him alone. It it just gets to a point where it's like, bro, listen, I don't know what else to say to you, because like if this doesn't work out, they've said it. And I want to say two more things. Stephen A. said that he spoke to Ime Udoka, and basically before Harden accepted his player option, he talked with Ime Udoka and some of like the Houston Rockets reps, and like the Houston Rockets were okay with him coming back. They were okay when he was coming back. Ime Udoka, of course, was a little shaky on it, but like he was okay with it because he's a facilitator. They had money. Why not?
Yeah.
Until Harden started to talk like, I'm ready to be that scorer again. I'm ready to be the one of the scorers again, which really turned Ime Udoka off. And Ime Udoka basically went to the Rockets. It was like, no way in hell. I know that's your guy, but no way in hell are we doing that.
Also, it's not even their guy. I think, I mean, obviously it's not all the same, but there's still a lot of people in that front office and in that organization that remember how Harden left. And I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I know they probably have a little bit more bad blood with Daryl Morey than with Harden, but at the same time, I don't think they're so high on him that they're willing to just adjust their whole plan at developing their young guys and all that to get back James Harden. Especially now when you have Emil Udoka, who's a great coach, especially for the younger players.
Mm.
Like bringing in a guy like Harden who's going to
And they're
demand the
playing
ball
great,
and who's
by the way.
going to be like, yeah, and who's going to be like, very demanding,
Mm.
both on the court and off, is just not worth it.
And all right, so I want to switch over to back to us, back to the Sixers.
Yeah.
Currently, as we're recording this, is November 22nd, about 10:45. Sixers just lost to the Timberwolves. Joel didn't play. We're currently, I think we are 10-4 now with this loss.
10
Or
and 5.
10-5. We're 10-5.
Yep.
So
This was our fifth.
for real.
Yeah. We lost to Milwaukee first. Then we had a loss to Indiana, then
Yeah, we're 10-5.
Boston, Cleveland, and now Minnesota.
Shout out to Milwaukee for also losing today. So we're back to being the
Yeah.
second seed. First and foremost, I want to talk back to us. We just lost. Joel didn't play, and one of the bigger things that I've been looking at for the Sixers perspective is that though we do look good, and though it was addition by subtraction by trading James Harden, there is some things that we do need to clean up, and that we do need to add to this team. I personally, I've said it, Sean, off. When we were starting this up, how much I really would like Alex Caruso on this team, and how
Yeah.
the Chicago Bulls right now are exploding. They're exploding. They're basically a volcano waiting to erupt. One more bad game or one misrotation to lose a game, you can see the writing on the wall. Somebody I really would like. I think probably a first in like 2 seconds will probably do it. Depending on obviously who else wants him. Obviously somebody can throw another two first round picks at him, and I just don't understand that right now for Alex Caruso. It doesn't make sense. And then even if you are a championship team, I don't think that that's what you should do. I think 2 seconds in the first for Alex Caruso. Bringing him here, I think we definitely need help. with our secondary ball handling. I do like Patrick Beverly. I do like what he has brought to the team and like just the mentality. I like that. I like that. I honestly do. But I want somebody who can actually play. I don't want the name. I want the player. I would rather the player every time. And Alex Caruso brings what Patrick Beverly thinks he brings. Um, actually, you know, I saw him. I was watching Chicago versus Phoenix. I just seen him, Alex Caruso, lock up Kevin Durant. Just lock up Kevin Durant. Just lock
Well,
him up.
I want to push back on that a little bit. I think Alex Caruso and Patrick Beverly bring the same thing, but Caruso being bigger and more athletic is just that's the differentiating factor. I think Patrick Beverly, for his size, is able to defend guards his size.
Yeah, he's good at defending guards. I mean, if you're quicker
Yeah,
than him, then you're kind of you're not, you're getting past him.
yeah.
But one what Alex Caruso brings to the team is like he's a better ball handler. I've seen times where they're pressed and Patrick Beverly is literally posting up from the fucking half court line to get it
Yeah.
across half court. I don't like that. Um, even if it's not even if it's not Alex Caruso, another guy I was looking at was DeLon Wright over in Washington, 6'5", another big guard, plays defense. Monte Morris, who's in Detroit right now. Just like I think we have seen especially with the last couple champions, where it's like it hasn't been star driven. It's been like stars and like role players. And I feel like with this trade, it allows I think the Sixers ownership and everybody like that to see that this team with role players is better than a team has ever been with stars. Because we were always top heavy, and when we went to the bench, that's where it went off. And we've had great bench play. Nicholas Batum has been a great addition. Marcus Morris had a great game today. Kind of been a no show. I think he's probably the contract that they trade at deadline. I think they keep Nick Batum. I think they keep Robert Covington. I think that Marcus Morris is the one because he making $17 million. If you could turn that $17 million to somebody else who actually will play, Kelly Oubre, praise up to Kelly Oubre who got hit by a car. Who got? I mean, listen to anything. It's just that it doesn't seem right to me. And obviously he got injured. I'm not saying that he didn't get hit. I'm just saying that it seems this is a very fishy situation. Very fishy situation. We do we want him to be healthy because like I don't like honestly, bro. Like honestly, I do not care about the situation. Bro's playing good basketball, so I don't give a
Yeah, I
fuck
don't
how
either.
I don't give a fuck how what happened, bro. As long as bro can get back on the court, listen, bro, stay healthy, stay safe. Kelly has been an amazing pickup to be on a veteran minimum contract and to be performing the way he was. Hopefully he could be back as soon as next week, which is crazy. It's just crazy. We really do need him. That's really because when we go to that bench, it's kind of taking a hit because we have to bring some people from our bench to the starting lineup. I think he's a great addition here, and I think if he's playing the way he's playing, obviously being on the Sixers rather than being on the Hornets, he's going to get way more attention. And really hope he's somebody like the way he's been playing. He's someone the Sixers consider bringing back, because they said they offered him a more significant contract earlier in the offseason, but he was like weighing his options. And then like as the offseason went on, the Sixers kind of lose their cap a little bit, so they gave him the veteran minimum. And I just like the way we're playing. I like the fact that we have like forwards, we have wings. I feel like the one thing we
Right.
didn't have was wings, and now we have too many. And I love it. I love it. I love Jaden Springer's ascendance. I love Paul Reed, what he's doing. I just love that the lineups that we could throw up that we couldn't do before. And I feel like adding in Alex Caruso, another just a guard who can. Alex Caruso can theoretically shoot. He's not a shooter, but he could theoretically shoot.
Yeah.
corners and stuff like that. Um, I think if you look at the players that we got back, I think Robert Covington clearly replaces PJ. I think Nicholas Batum kind of replaces George Niang of last year. Um, and I feel like keep going this role player, get elite role players. That's why I say Alex Caruso, because he's a championship player. He's proven, and I really want us to get a wing. I don't. Okay, a lot of people want Zach LaVine. I hate it. I fucking hate
Yeah.
that. I hate it so much. I would rather, and I don't hate it for the fact that I think Zach LaVine is a bad player. I want to clear that right now. I hate it for the fact of the players that we have to go against, and I know Zach LaVine is could get locked up by Drew Holiday. I
Yeah.
know, Zach LaVine is going to struggle against the tough defense. The best defensive teams are kind of in the East right now. Even Orlando Magic are locking teams up, and I know he's very prone, and his style of play is very very prone to be very hindered depending on throwing bodies, switching, hedging, icing him. I can see it already. I would rather have a Swiss Army knife who can score, but really is a defender. I really would like OG and Anobi if that was a possibility. I doubt it, but you probably have to trade more to get an OG. But those defenders, I want to kind of a defender first, scorer second type guy.
There's I think one of the guys that I think really gets it. As far as like in the media and like NBA media, obviously JJ Redick, former player, played for a lot of different teams. Also played, for one of the best coaches of all time, and Mike Krzyzewski, and uh, some really really good
And Doc
NBA coaches
Rivers.
as well. I was gonna say some really good NBA coaches as well. I wasn't gonna mention Doc, but I mean, you know. But anyway, um, he mentioned how important fit is and how names are for the fans, not for the front office. Like, obviously for ownership and front office, yeah, you want your team to make money, but the way that you make money is by winning. Essentially, that's the way you do it. If you are the San Antonio Spurs, sure, you may not be worth as much as the Lakers, but the fact that you've, won essentially just as many championships, or whatever over the past, we'll say, decade, plus, as the Lakers,
Mm-hmm.
you're a valuable team. Like, you've already exponentially increased the value of that franchise from what it was when the owners probably first bought it. So at the end of the day, you have to prioritize fit and you have to prioritize team success over names. However, because you have casual fans and because you have people who maybe know basketball, but they don't necessarily know it to the same degree as like an actual NBA coach, names can sometimes be a little bit more of a draw. And the idea of something
Yes,
can be very
100%,
tempting.
hundred
The
percent.
idea of Zach LaVine and Joel Embiid together sounds amazing. The problem is the team that would be around them just isn't built for that.
I like once again. Yes, 100%. I just not even the team that would be around them. Is for me is the team that we're going against. We're not going
Well,
against. We're going against the teams that defensively could get into Zach LaVine. It's like Tyrese Maxey is already a small guard who not he tries on defense, but is not a great defender. Having him
well,
and Zach LaVine, I feel like
that
we're going to get eaten alive.
that's sort of what I mean by the team around them, because our point guard isn't Drew Holiday.
Yeah,
Like,
I
our
feel like
small forward.
if we would have got Drew Holiday, I feel like that would have been.
Yeah, like when you have those types of versatile players, your options open up tremendously. But as of right now, Tyrese Maxey tries on defense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's got the tenacity or whatever, but he just doesn't have the physical tools. He's a smaller guard. He's quick, but he's not particularly big or strong. So, guys can kind of muscle past him a little bit. Tobias Harris is good enough on defense, but he's not a lockdown defender. You know, that's sort of the
Our
issues that
best
we're
perimeter
dealing with.
defender is fucking D'Anthony Mountain.
Yeah, who's also smaller.
Yeah,
Like he's got a pretty good wingspan, but other than that, like he's a smaller guard still. He's like what 6'3",
6'2".
6'2". So the team around them just
He
doesn't
definitely.
match. But you we have these like camps of like you have one camp that's on the like we're one piece away, so we need Zach Levine. Like the two teams that have been reported to be like the most willing to play ball or whatever, or like the two rebuilding teams that have a lot of different like options as far as the players that they could be sending out are the Chicago Bulls, the Toronto Raptors, and you have one camp that's like, oh, we got to go after Zach Levine or we got to go after Pascal Siakam, and it's like, no,
I
we don't.
I
I'd
personally
rather have a OG Ananobi or a Alex Caruso.
yeah, and the two team. So basically, reports were saying that the Sixers would do their due diligence, but a trade is probably not going to happen. Showing what I said was the Sixers probably okay. The Sixers would have to look into it. They would look into it, but they wouldn't. They're not feeling like they are inclined to make a trade just because of how good the Sixers have been. And for me, I wouldn't want them to. Like, I honestly would not want them to trade for another offensive guy. We've went through it before of trading for guys, and then they'll come here and then they kind of forget how to play basketball. I want them to really get fit pieces, and it was something I've really preached. I preached last year's too. Last year, I really preached fit pieces. We always chase the name, we chase the star, and we've neglected the bench. And now that we've seen that the bench having depth really helps, it really can change the entirety of a series because like once the starters go out, you got to put your bench in, whether you have a starter in or not. If those bench players aren't ready for what the stars are ready to do, you kind of set yourself up for failure. And I really I love the doubling down on it. I love that their mindset is kind of like what the fans are seeing. They're not really interested in Zach Levine. Obviously, they're going to do their due diligence and seeing like, oh, what would it take to get Zach Levine. And from what I'm hearing, Zach Levine's trade stock right now is very low, not because of the play, but just because the teams are looking around and they're seeing what every other team is seeing. Is that it's not about the star. It's about the players that goes around the stars. And I think the Lakers were a team that were interested. The Kings were a team that was like heavily interested, and they said just out of nowhere, left field, the Charlotte Hornets are strongly interested in the Zach Levine. Um, and it just those teams he would be cool on. But once again, it's like the Lakers always chase stars, so it makes sense for the Lakers to go do some stuff like that. Charlotte Hornets are struggling in every way possible. Anybody could come on the team and help out significantly. And then the Sacramento Kings is a team I actually do like for him in terms of their
Yeah,
play and how they would use him. I think he's that is a better fit for him than anywhere else. Um, I personally think that the Sixers should obviously continue to build the depth, and so when the playoffs comes around, if he could play a legit 10 people, instead of normal playoff rotations where like you're paying your guys into the ground 40 minutes, and that's how Joel gets injured. That's how you know
yeah.
uh, you know dumb shit happens. Being a Sixers fan, you know what I'm talking about. Like it's just so much can happen.
Random elbow to the face.
Random elbow to the face, falling on somebody, stuff like that. If Joel doesn't have to play that much because our bench could keep or even extend the lead, we need more of that. And I feel like with stuff. Oh God, I dropped my microphone. With the stuff we got back from the Clippers, we can definitely go out and continue to build around this team.
I mean, the only thing about Zach Levine that intrigues me even a little bit is the idea of trying to mold him into more of an off the ball scorer, which I think is possible. I think he's a good enough catch and shoot player that he could improve tremendously, but at the same time, that's just not his game right now. So you're banking on potential, along with him even being willing to like, take on that sort of role. Um, but as of right now, it's just I'd rather just have Alex Caruso. I think the team is good enough that I would rather make small improvements and see where that gets us than to just swing for the fences right now on a quote unquote star.
Mm-hmm. And I don't.
Um,
And the thing with me and Zach Levine, I'm sorry, cut you off. But the thing between that is that there's not a significant difference between him and Tyrese Maxey. There's not a significant difference. One is just fast, and the other one just fucking is athletic. I feel like their game is very similar. Needing the ball, they're good. They're both good off the ball, but like definitely, I don't want another person to come in and take the ball out of Tyrese's hands. You know, and if you do, I'd rather it be Tobias posting him up or finding different ways to get everybody involved. I just think staying pat and making a trade that molds the roster rather than drastically changes it is the best way to go because we haven't seen it since
I think
our first year in the playoffs where we had like Ersan, Marco, and all those guys. Like,
yeah, yeah, and you were basically building around Joel and Ben.
right.
I think the problem is most people are doing what I would call box office logic or like fan logic, where it's just 3 stars is better than two, and it's like not always. It's not. It's actually not always the case. I would argue that if you had just James Harden and Kevin Durant in Brooklyn and no Kyrie, they might have actually been a better team.
Less is
I
more.
mean, people might not want to hear that, but
If
I mean,
they
it's the truth.
if
If you
they
have
wouldn't have
James Harden,
traded
Kevin
for
Durant,
James
Joe
Harden
Harris,
and they would have kept what they had,
yeah, they would have probably been a much better team.
much
Actually,
better.
they would have most definitely been a much better team. If you think about that team on paper,
Karis
Kyrie
LeVert,
Irving, Kevin Durant, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen,
Spencer Dinwiddie,
Spencer Dinwiddie, like they would have been a much better team, along with still having Joe Harris,
and still having your
and
top
they could still
picks.
go out and get Blake and LaMarcus. I think they had LaMarcus already.
No, Lamarcus came a little bit later
Oh,
because
okay, but they could still go out
he
and
was a
get
buyout. He was a buyout guy.
yeah, but you can
So was
still go
Blake.
out and get LaMarcus and Blake,
Mm-hmm.
to fill out the old man quota. Um, yeah, sometimes less is more. Sometimes less is more, and I think it's crazy. There's a fly on my screen, and it's on your hat, and you right when it landed, you put your hand on your hat. It looked like you were trying to swat the fly away.
Oh,
All right, I just swatted it away. Sorry, that little bit of ADHD kicked in there. Couldn't help but talk about that. Um, I think in recent years, like a lot of NBA teams have already shown us that. I mean, for real, prior to the LeBron, you know, team up in Boston, I mean, in Miami with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. Prior to that, that's how most teams operated. You had 2 stars and then a bunch of other guys that just complemented
cause like,
those two guys. That was how every other championship winning team operated.
look at what we have. Tyrese Maxey is most likely going to be in his first All Star game this year.
Yep.
Joel Embiid, you have an elite role player. Once again, elite role player. I'm not saying elite player. Elite role player in Tobias Harris. Another one in Kelly Oubre. Role players 6'8". Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum. Jaden Springer is showing you plus he's a defender. Patrick Beverly is still a name. Mo Bamba is not
Anthony
even being
Melton.
used. D'Anthony, I didn't even get to D'Anthony Melton. Like that, going down the list of legit NBA players,
Yeah.
and we're like before, Furkan Korkmaz was the best player off our bench.
Yeah.
Furkan Korkmaz is like 12th on the list. Like
Yeah.
once that becomes a more of a thing, I feel like you open up so much, and like everybody that is coming off their bench is 3D, except for Paul Reed. Like everybody else is 3D. Like heading
But
onto that.
Paul Reed brings a lot still,
No, he does. He
just
does. He
on an
does.
interior,
And
as
and,
rather than
and the
exterior.
ability to switch to the perimeter and not get embarrassed is
Yeah.
another thing. He's not great at it, but like he can do it. And like
Yeah.
that's when I was like so mad when we played Cleveland, and like Joel has to constantly step up because the guards are keep constantly penetrating, and he keeps stepping up to like basically test the guard, and the big kind of slips behind him. I really wanted Nick Nurse to really put in Paul Reed and Joel, and have them there. So even when Joel has to step up, Paul Reed is still a big enough body for to contest the Evan Mobley or Jared Allen, to really help
Yeah.
them, because like it was literally they were running it, they were spamming it until like Joel just finally just got a hand on the ball. Like they were, we need I don't want to say we need another. We could use another big, um, because like obviously we haven't really given Mo Bamba a shot, and when we did, he didn't look the best. So I understand why, but if there is another, I guess, big-ish player, even tonight we ran fucking Markieff Morris at center, like another wing that could be a big if need be, play a center if need be, that could still stretch the floor or something like that. I think that would definitely work for us. Um, and it just once again, it's like this is one of the more fun teams I've gotten to watch. Being a Sixer fan, obviously the losses and there's gonna be stupid shit along the way, but like honestly, like I'm enjoying. And we didn't even get to speak on Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse has made me believe again. Like honestly,
Yeah.
his ball movement. Joel Embiid is averaging 6 assists a game. Um, just ball movement. Everybody's touching the ball. Even if the play isn't for you, you're touching the ball. You're getting a feel for the ball. Like you're in the play. You're in the motion. You're setting the screen. You're doing this. Like I love his offense because it's just so for everybody. You know what I mean? Like
There.
it's a unit rather than Doc Rivers and Brett Brown's offense, where it's like if Joel doesn't take the shot, it's not a good shot. And this offense is whoever's open, that's where we're going. And I love that so much. I love it so much.
I want to see if I can find it, but somebody posted a like a stat on Instagram and like I guess meme format or whatever, but it was about Doc Rivers basically, and it said there's three. Let's see if I can find it. Hold on. It said that three players. There's three players this year who are averaging 10 plus I guess like points or assisted points on like pick and roll actions. Those three players or like who have increased by 10 this season. Those three players are Paul Reed, Andre Drummond, and Charles Bassey.
All the guys. And can I throw into this? And like I was watching, obviously watching Nick Nurse and how he played and how everybody plays.
Yeah.
Nick Nurse would have made Matisse Thybulle a fucking monster.
Oh yeah.
He would have made him. Shake would have been better. Matisse would have been used better. George Niang would have been used better. He really killed us.
Yeah.
He really killed us in that last game. Shout out to George Niang. I'm happy for him. Shake. We just saw Shake tonight. Matisse, Matisse. Oh my God! You imagine how they were?
Yeah.
Did you see how they're using Kelly Oubre? They would have used Matisse the same way, cutting,
Yeah.
shooting, the freedom of shooting that he got when he went to Portland. Of just like, hey, there's no pressure, bro. Shoot the ball. Like, don't dribble. Don't look for somebody else. Shoot it. If he would have had
Yeah.
that and he would have still been here, oh my God, dude.
I feel bad because it's like, there's really only one way to get good at shooting in the game.
Shoot it. Yeah.
Like you I think as a person, like I've taught myself how to shoot a basketball. Like I didn't really, I guess disclaimer for anybody who's new here. I didn't really start playing basketball until high school. Like when I was, 13, 14, when I got to high school, I went to a school that was in Center City, Philadelphia. So there's no football fields, there's no baseball fields. None of the sports that I grew up playing were like available. There was just a basketball court, down the street from our school. So after school every day we go play basketball. And I was so trash. Over the course of those 4 years, I basically taught myself like the first in my freshman year of high school, we went to go play basketball. Marquise, from the 3-point line, I shot the ball over the court. Like it went over the backboard. I don't know how I overshot it that much from the three. It went over the backboard and out of the fence behind the court, and it landed on like the picnic tables. Luckily, there was nobody sitting over there, but that was
Backboard
freshman year.
over the
No,
backboard is
over
crazy.
the backboard.
Over the backboard is crazy, sure.
Right, over the top. Like I cleared it by a good 4 feet. Like, like I would have had to shoot 4 feet lower to hit the top of the backboard. So from that to senior year, actually making the varsity basketball team, like I know for a fact you can shoot in the gym all you want and you can get the muscle memory and the repetition, but all that does really is give you more confidence to shoot in game.
100%.
It
It's like
doesn't necessarily make you better at shooting in a game.
we
It just
see
gives you more confidence in your own abilities, but you're still not going to get great at shooting in a game against a real closeout on a real catch and shoot situation where there's a real clock and real
it's
stakes.
a mental thing. It's definitely a mental thing.
Exactly.
Cuz
You
like
have to do it in
we
a game.
we see a lot of guys like in practice, 103 straight. First shot
Yeah.
they get airball.
Yep.
It's a mental thing because now his eyes are watching you. They're expecting this. When
Yep.
you're playing freely, it's nobody cares. Nobody cares. Bro,
Yeah.
if I miss an airball, it doesn't count. You know what I mean? It doesn't count. But once that stuff start counting and them lights are on, it hits different.
When you have people expecting you to make shots, it's different. So I think for Matisse, honestly, if I hate to say this, but I don't know if Matisse would have ever become a good shooter with us.
I want to see
Only
Matisse.
because every year that he was with us, we were very like we had high expectations for like the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were expecting to win games, we were expecting to beat teams, we were expect like pretty much every year we were like we're going to the finals.
Yeah.
That was the expectation. For Matisse, I think he needed to be in a situation where it's like, hey, we're gonna suck. So like, if you suck, it's cool.
It's okay because we do.
Yeah. Whereas like with us, I think he knew always in the back of his mind, no matter how
Matisse
much he worked
Thybulle
on his jump shot.
is currently shooting 38% from three.
Yeah.
What is the
I
chances that the Sixers
I know.
trade for Matisse Thybulle?
But here's the problem though. I think the problem is when you put him in a situation where he knows if he misses, he's going to lose minutes. Now the situation
I
changes.
don't think that's the case because D'Anthony Mountain was god awful to start this year, and he was still a starter.
Well, at the same time, who was going to start over him?
That's crazy. That's what was right. I mean, Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre played the three though.
Kelly Oubre was coming off the bench.
Who was starting at the three?
It was PJ.
Oh yeah. No. I'm sorry. I'm talking about post Harden trade. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, like right now, if we were to trade for Matisse, if he starts stinking it up, Pat Beverly is still probably playing more his minutes. Like
my camera is about to go out. And it did. If I'm gonna fix it, I think if Matisse were to be traded for it, Matisse would be a starter right now.
Really?
100%.
At the three, yeah.
Yeah, he would be a starter right now. 100%.
Yeah. Because Kelly's out, but once Kelly's back, he's still coming off the bench.
No, Kelly would still come off the bench. Nick Nurse has said that once they figure out the rotation, they're going to bring Kelly back off the bench.
I don't. Well,
Kelly's Kelly's better off the bench.
He'd be a great 6-man.
Yeah.
Kelly would be a great 6-man. I'm not upset about that.
That's what Nick Nurse said. Honestly, from him, that they were only starting Kelly because like the new guys didn't know the plays and stuff like that.
The plays and stuff.
Once they figure that out, that one of the guys will move into the starting lineup and he will be the 6-man, which I honestly love because he's a great spark. He has a great swagger to him that I haven't seen in like a Sixer player coming off the bench in years. Just like knowing he can do it and going out there and do it, and even if he doesn't, fuck it, I'm gonna do it again. Like that is something we haven't had. I feel like the coaches we've had previously have given players such a short leash that they are so stuck in their head to try to do the thing right the first time that they kind of kill their confidence when it doesn't happen. Whereas though Nick Nurse is like, all right, bro, the play, we're gonna run the play again. We're gonna do it again. You're gonna get the same shot. Like I love that. I love that for him.
I'm not mad at that. I think either way, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good lineup, whether it's Kelly or Matisse. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love that we're thinking like that though. Like I love that we're looking at Matisse's and Alex Caruso's and OG and Anubi's. Like I love that that's what we're thinking about, and we're not like, oh, we need Zach LaVine
Mm-hmm.
or we need fucking Pascal or even DeMar DeRozan. I love watching DeMar DeRozan play basketball. I do not want him on the
I do
Sixers.
not at all. You just
I don't. I
you
just
gotta at least have a threat of shooting. You don't have to be a great shooter. You just have to have a threat. We know
yeah.
you're not shooting that shit, Demar. Like we know,
Like DeMar,
unless it's a mid
honest,
range.
the thing about, but see, that's the problem because every elite team over the past couple years has only had one mid-range scorer because everybody says the mid-range is dead. The mid-range isn't dead. You just can't have too many people in
And
it.
also, the people that are taking those mid rangers are the best players on the team.
Right,
Ain't no way we going just either you're a best player on the team or you are one of those guys that can do it. Like Tobias
right,
Harris. Tobias Harris can do it because that's in our offense. Ain't no
right.
fucking way I'm gonna sit up here and watch fucking what's his name? Why am I blanking? Fucking Patrick Beverly take mid range shots. If it
Right,
ain't from the three or it's not a layup, bro, no. No.
right. The
No.
so you can't add a guy like DeMar to this offense because you have Joel Embiid, who's one of the most lethal mid-range scorers in the game right now, and then you have Tobias Harris, who can score from the mid-range sometimes, and you have Tyrese isn't necessarily a mid-range scorer, but he likes to get at least a foot in the paint or
Mm-hmm.
whatever and shoot that floater. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't throw another mid-range scorer on this team. And honestly, when you look at a team like the Phoenix Suns, that's kind of the issue that they're having because KD is one of those guys. He's
I,
primarily a mid-range guy.
I
Devin Booker is a three-point shooter, but as a scorer, he gets most of his points in the
but
mid-range.
what I would say is that's not even their biggest problem. The biggest problem is just
No, no,
like
no, not their biggest problem, but
their
it's
biggest
one of their
problem
problems.
is just like Brooklyn. They cannot get all these guys on the floor at the same time.
Yep.
Bradley
Well,
Bill Bradley
I
Bill was just about to come back, and all of a sudden he's going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks.
but I would even argue that even if he does come back, that doesn't solve their issue because
No,
Bradley Beal is
I'm
also not a great three-point shooter.
but this is my whole thing. It doesn't matter whether what time he comes back. It's the fact that he's not playing. This is the same thing that happened in Brooklyn. It was like two of the guys, then it was one of the guys, then it was three guys for like 2 games, and then one of the guys got injured again. I'm probably gonna have to switch my camera, but it is bad. It's bad, and then Kevin Durant got to
Yeah.
be thinking to himself, "Oh shit, here the fuck we go again."
But here's the thing though. This is worse than Brooklyn because at least with Brooklyn you had James who could be that point guard and be sort of the glue between the two of them. Phoenix doesn't have that. None of the three of them are that player. So I would argue that even when Bradley Beal comes back, that doesn't necessarily help at all because you still have three scorers and actually now none of them have that sort of facilitating ability that you got from James Harden. So combine that with the fact that three of your three scorers are primarily mid-range guys. Bradley Beal is like a 3-point and then at the basket kind of guy, but you're gonna have issues. Ironically, you're probably gonna have some issues scoring. Like to have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal on the floor at the same time is sort of a recipe for disaster if you don't have like a true point guard who's able to orchestrate that offense, and if you don't have an offense that's free flowing enough to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to touch the ball. Like the thing about the Warriors that worked when they had KD was that their offense was so free flowing. Like they just played basketball the right way. The ball just found the right person. There was there was some times that you see where KD would get an ISO or a Steph would, but even then, like for the most part, the ball was moving and it was finding guys where they were supposed to be. That's why you had three scorers who were able to still, get their shots. Even with Boston, like I would argue that Doc Rivers maybe wasn't necessarily the one who designed that offense, but even like then, their offense was ISO ball, but because you had three scorers that scored at three different
Well,
levels,
Doc Rivers
it just
also
worked.
got bailed out the fact that he had the only fucking super team in the league and only won one championship
Well,
is crazy.
I would even argue, but the thing is, like they were a super team because they had three stars that fit well together, not just because they had three stars. Because if you remember, like we've actually seen super teams before Boston that just flamed out and were terrible.
But I'm saying in the sense of that was the reality. They were the only team that
Oh,
had
well,
that, and
they were.
you can even say they underachieved because they should have won more.
Oh, for sure. They definitely should have won more, but at the same time, they were old. Like it's tough to. They were old. I would say they had younger guys, but for the most part, the only good young players that they had were Rajon Rondo and Avery Bradley.
And
Maybe Glenn Davis. I don't know. Glenn Davis had like 3 good years.
no, no, not at all.
Pert had like 2 good years.
They fucking traded his ass to OKC.
Yeah, and
Um,
then Boston. But then what did Boston do? They imploded because they did the same thing that most other teams do, which is try to get more star power, and they went and got fucking Shaq, who was a star, but he was way over the hill, and he clogged up their offense.
1,000%. Bro didn't
So
he just didn't have it no more. Bro was he was
right,
done. He was collecting
right.
a check at that point.
So for teams like Phoenix, like I just don't know what the direction is. Phoenix and the Clippers, like I don't know what your direction is. You're star hunting when you already had a good team. Like what made you think you had to just like do all this stuff to get to the point where you were, a championship team? I think once for Phoenix, once it was decided that they had to do as much as they ended up doing to get Kevin Durant, they should have just called it off.
Mm. I mean, it's still Kevin Durant though.
It is, but I've listen, NBA people, especially casual fans, y'all might not like this. Kevin Durant's not that dude.
What?
Kevin Durant's not that dude. I saw a meme the other day that I thought was hilarious, but it was a picture of Carmelo Anthony and it said Kevin Durant's career without going to the Warriors.
I don't know, man. I feel like I truly feel like he could have won one without the Warriors. I don't think it would
I
have
don't.
been. I don't think it.
So here's the thing. He could have, however, it would have had to have been with OKC, and they would have had to have brung back Harden.
No, I think there were
There's
way.
no.
I think there was a way.
He's had no other opportunity. He has not even been to the finals since then, unless it was with Steph and the Warriors.
I mean, they did have another opportunity when they blew that fucking 3-1 lead to the Warriors when they won the championship that year. That was his opportunity. I feel like if they would have just fucking just brought the team back, I don't feel like they're doing that again.
I I don't know if they blow a 3-1 lead again, but I also don't know if they get a 3-1 lead again.
I think what the Warriors showed me at the playoffs is that first championship was kind of lucky. It was kind of like the Raptors winning their championship.
Well, it was lucky because they got a break in the finals, not because of anything getting up to there. The Warriors were still hands down the best team in the West.
But what I'm saying is though, what I seen from the Warriors was they got lucky, and those games that they blew. I don't know if James Harden was still on the team. I don't think James Harden was still on that team.
Oh, he wasn't. He was in the Rockets. That was 2015.
Those games,
Remember, James Harden left OKC in 2012 or
those
2011.
those games, even when they lost the games, all those games were close games.
2012. I'm sorry.
All those games were close games, and they just couldn't pull it out. So if I'm, obviously hindsight is keeping that together and going, they're not gonna fucking do that again.
But here's the thing: they couldn't pull it out because the Warriors were a better defensive team.
I get what
Number
you're saying. I
one.
kind of think they're the same. I think they were the same that year because they had fucking
Mm,
Surge was there. Surge was on a different
yeah,
level.
Serge was, but at the same time, that was when you got fucking Draymond winning Defensive Player of the Years. Like, I would say the Warriors were better. The Warriors play better team defense,
Mm-hmm.
and along with having a couple
But you
great
also got to think.
individual
You also got to
defenders.
think. Russell Westbrook was first team on defense. Kevin Durant
Sure,
wasn't no
no,
slouch.
I 100% agree with you.
Still had with Reggie Jackson
I
was still
think the
there.
I no, I agree with it, but the Warriors were the deeper team. I think they were the better coach team, and I think they just meshed so well together
Mhm.
that they were able to be consistent enough to win not only obviously blowout games but really close games too.
And
Whereas like with the Thunder, when you watch those games, you could see how reliant they were on Kevin Durant. And don't get me wrong, Kevin Durant's amazing and he can win you some games. But when you know Russ can't shoot, when you know Kevin's the main scorer, and you have three guys on your team who are all capable of guarding Kevin Durant, not necessarily stopping him, but guarding him, and Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Andre Iguodala, like you
Harrison
can
Barnes too.
get into him, huh?
Harrison Barnes.
And Harrison Barnes. You can get into them enough where it's like we're gonna make it as difficult. It's like with the Bucks with the like with the Bucks with the Nets. Like you're not gonna stop Kevin Durant from scoring. But if we can wear him down enough that he's not able to be Superman and just completely beat us on his own,
He almost did.
we know he's not a
he,
facilitator.
he
Like
almost
he's
did.
not
He almost did.
he
he almost
almost
did.
did. He almost
That
did.
foot on the
He
line.
almost did. But that's the thing, like Kevin Durant's career, excluding his time with the Warriors, is just full of almosts. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by when I say Kevin Durant's not that guy. It's not to say that he's not an amazing player, because he is, and he's one of the greatest players that this game has ever seen. But he's kind of like a Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was I there was a good 3 years where
Would you?
Charles Barkley
Would
was
you?
legit the second best player in the NBA behind only Michael Jordan.
Would you
And he
say?
still couldn't win a championship.
Would you say Kevin Durant single handedly started this ring chasing thing? Like making
Mm.
ring chasing obvious?
I think Kevin Durant started it for the younger guys. We've always seen older guys ring chase.
But like a player that good going to a team that great, and
No,
it was
I
obviously he
no,
is
I
chasing the ring.
like like I said, I don't. I think Kevin Durant started it for younger players,
Hmm.
but older player like we saw Gary Payton and fucking Karl Malone go to the
No,
Lakers, who had just three-peated.
I mean, guys that are elite level. Like Gary Payton was at the end of his career.
No, no, I know, but I'm saying like that's what I mean by younger. Like
Mm.
Gary Payton and Karl Malone, like they were still great players,
They
but
were
because
retired players.
they weren't who they were when they were younger. That's what I mean. Like they were still great players for the league, but they just weren't the Karl Malone and Gary Payton that they were in the 90s. So, obviously it's different for them. Same thing with Scottie Pippen, like Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, and Hakeem all teamed up together, but they were all older. They were still great, but they were just not who they were before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for Kevin, I think he was the first one to do it in his prime. He was the first one to do it in his prime. You could say some people say LeBron, but the difference is I think I never really looked at those situations the same way,
Because
because
look,
LeBron went to a team where D Wade, Shaq was gone. D Wade was having a lot of injury trouble. That was a 40-win team.
mm-hmm,
Chris Bosh wasn't necessarily a guarantee. They had a very good idea that he
mm-hmm.
was going, obviously, but that was a 40-win
they
team
he was
that
the
was not.
pivot. Chris Bosh was the
Yeah,
pivot. The first choice
Right.
was Carmelo Anthony. Bro, Carmelo Anthony already fucked that up.
Yeah. Right. Right. So, and even then, that they were friends. Like that's three friends who want to play with each other. Like, that's different. Not to say that it makes it any better, but they have a personal relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just, hey, we're three amazing players, let's get together and dominate the league. It's like, yeah, I want to play with my buddies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I've never really looked at that situation the same because Kevin Durant went to literally the best team in history.
70, the best, literally the best team. They won 73 games.
Like not only the best team in history, but the team that just beat you to knock you out of the finals. It's like the way, if you really wanted to make it like apples to apples, it would be if LeBron went to Boston instead of Miami. Like if he went to an established team that already had stars that just literally just beat him. If LeBron went to Boston, that would be the same thing as Kevin Durant going to
It,
to Golden State.
it was like Ray Allen going to the Miami Heat.
But even then, I think the reason why people don't hold that against Ray is because he was so far past his prime. Like Ray Allen was still a great player, like the Karl Malone and Gary Payton thing. Like they're still great players, but they're not who they were in their prime. So it's not looked at the same way. Same with Blake going to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Like people forget Blake put up 50 points in Detroit. Like
Against us.
he was still a good player. He was still right. He was still a good player, but he wasn't the Blake that he was before. Same thing with LaMarcus Aldridge. Like the reason people didn't care the same way is because we knew you're not getting that guy. Like when D Rose went to Cleveland to play with LeBron, like you're not getting D Rose. Like you're getting Derek. You know,
Yeah.
like
We
I hate to say it.
we might have to wrap it up because my camera is like bro,
All right.
I can't I'm dying.
All right, but yeah, Ray Allen got drafted in '96. Like him going to the Heat in what was it 2014?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not getting the Ray Allen. Like you're getting the shooter. You're getting the guy who can knock down corner threes. Yeah,
It worked out so well for him.
yeah. That would be honestly. That's kind of like when we got JJ. Like it was huge for us, but
It was like
it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, exactly.
I need to get a
Like
fan.
you just got a shooter.
I need to get a fan in here because my camera overheats when I don't have like any type of air in here. And my room is smaller now, so like that shit takes a while. It doesn't take as long to get hot in my room.
Get a little like computer fan and just stick it behind the camera.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to most likely have to do. Because
All right,
that has been my problem.
issue.
Yeah, it's been a big issue recently.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been yet another episode of the Untitled Hoops podcast. Now, you might have noticed, just a quick disclaimer, excuse me. We did not do our draft like we did last year.
Did not.
The reason why is because that was an epic failure. So, moving on.
It wasn't an epic failure. It was only an epic failure because he lost. That's the only reason there was an epic failure.
Not only that, but we could, by the time we got to the end, we could barely remember who we even drafted.
Well,
I could.
That was more on us. That was more on us for not having that shit down in the place where we knew everything. That was more organization. Like we didn't do that. That was us.
And there were so many caveats. There were injuries. There was a lot of stuff that you just can't predict in the beginning of a season.
Picking Kristaps Porzingis, even though Kristaps Porzingis was the All-Star already, things like that. But it's cool.
I changed it. Didn't I change it to Christian Wood?
Changed it to Christian Wood. It was even worse.
Which was worse.
It was terrible. Fucking terrible.
Hey, he's doing good right now.
Yeah, sure. For now.
All right. Well, anyway, this has been another episode of the Untitled Hoops podcast. Make sure to follow us on all the socials and make sure to head over to the website where you can see not only this episode, but even more episodes of the Untitled Hoops podcast and other podcasts that we have up there. Also, check out the merch. Make sure you buy yourself some merch and hit the follow and add us to your favorites, whether you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell so you can get notified when we post again. Marquise, do you have anything to say?
our layer out. What am I? What the fuck am I saying? Our
What are you trying to say?
our outer layer says Untitled Sports, but this is Untitled Hoops. It's been so long that I've yet to change it. So it says Untitled Sports, but it's Untitled
It
Hoops.
is Untitled Hoops, yeah. Because we don't really talk about football or anything like that. Oh, wait, real quick. I just want to touch on this. Angel Reese might be getting kicked out of LSU, but we'll talk about that next week. All right, bye bye.
That's a fucking crazy thing to just drop off on. All right, bye.